podcast. We are your Aunties of Inclusion. I am Liz.
For real. And guess who it is? It's also Shara. Like, I just came up. I showed up today. I'm here and I'm present. Guess what?
Me too.
Yeah, we're here. Listen, if you're just joining us, you already know who we are. And if you don't know, go back to the episodes and catch up, okay? Because right now, we are here to catch up with you. So listen, we have heard all of your inquiries, right? Y'all been watching our social media. Y'all been watching our Facebook, okay? Because we're doing good on there. I see y'all. I see our community growing. Okay, grow. Second of all, I see y'all Instagram. Okay, Instagram followers going up, up, up. Y'all heard our goals for 2023. And then also our YouTubers. Come on now, subscribing. Y'all not liking, but y'all subscribing. So we appreciate you. So do your part.
Well, my interesting thing is, I watch the analytics because, I'm a data girl, right? So I always look at the analytics and I'm like, I see the views happening. I see the downloads happening. But why aren't you liking? Like, why don't you comment? Why don't you share? Why don't you like? What are we doing? So you watching me, but you're not liking me. Okay, you're watching me, but you're not liking me. So like, comment, share.
Period.
Whatever.
Period. But let me tell you what's not sharing. If y'all notice that Leah's got a background of the Aunties of Inclusion and I don't got one. So I just want to go on a record that,
I made you one. Where is yours?
You did, but guess what? It's not that one. It's not that one. So if y'all are listening, you don't know what we're talking about. It's completely fine. That's because you're not watching on YouTube. But guess what?
There you go. See, now we have two.
Yeah.
Now we have two, and they can see us differently. But that one is on our Canva thing. I just felt like being tropical, all that. But anyways, we want to welcome everybody as we start talking randomly. Yeah,
we have to. We want y'all to catch up with us because y'all been listening. We've been doing our part. We've been bringing the guests. We've been bringing the knowledge. We've been bringing the timely information. So we got a little time to catch up with you. But I did want to just put her on spot because she got this background, and now I got the background from not now. You know what I mean? And so I'm feeling a certain type of way. Go ahead, Liz. It's fine. It's your auntie moment. We're going to get to the auntie moment. Liz got one. I just had to put her out there because I see how she do. But Auntie Moment, if you just joining us, the Auntie Moment is about really us honoring and appreciating our similarities and differences, or talking about daring or audacious things that's happened, quite frankly, sometimes with our clients or in our life, or just in general, the world, because the world is definitely worlding. And so we want to make sure that we have a moment to catch up and you get a little tea from us today. And guess what? We will be launching merch soon, but I just want to put that brand placement for those of you watching. Please don't put the non.
I know, I didn't. I know, Brandy. I don't. So I gave all my cups away here in the UK. Don't get mad at me if y'all I know there's one particular person that listens to our podcast and they are here in the UK and they're gonna be mad at me because they're like, oh, so you gave your cups away, but I don't get one. So, anyways, I have to bring one to them. But yes, watch out because we're going to have some merch coming out and y'all can have your aunties, wearing them. You can put your stuff in them. You can drink your stuff out of them, whatever you want. But let's talk about this auntie moment.
Please and thank you.
Y'all, as y'all know, Shara and I are both coaches, right? I think we've talked about that extensively. It's all over our webpage. It's all over our Instagram. And a lot of times we talk about our experiences with our clients and the things that we see and the common themes. But I kind of want to move it to us coaches a little bit, and especially me. So I'll just tell y'all, be very honest with y'all. I'll post a picture on our Instagram later on as to what my setup looks like right now. So I'm currently under the weather. I've moved over to the UK and y'all have some very powerful bugs out here in the UK. And I've gotten every time somebody gets sick, I get sick. So I am currently under the weather. And you're probably thinking, why are you recording the podcast? And to be fair, my hermana over there said, are you sure you want to do this? And I said, yes, I need this. I need this today because I've been feeling really crummy. And honestly, these conversations are the highlight of my week, right? They are. I feel like a Wonder Woman, powerful at the end of it. But I will say I have been pushing through a lot this week. I have been carrying the behaviors of my ancestors very much this week, where we don't take care of ourselves and we just push through. And we're just like, I have kids, I have to do this, I have to do that. Actually, do I really have to? And actually, who can I reach out to? And I think we've talked about this before. And it's probably the last time I got sick when we talked about this. But this week, actually, I coached a couple of people on their self-care and what they were doing to prioritize themselves, right? And I think there's so much pressure at the beginning of the year, every year, to document all your goals, to figure out what you want to accomplish this year. You're trying to push out the things that maybe you didn't reach last year for whatever reason. And I think that's why a lot of people get sick around this time, because it's like it's so much pressure for you to do. So I think my auntie moment today is like my own lesson of my things that I tell my clients. Like, what are you doing to take care of yourself? Who are you reaching out to? And part of it is this podcast. So if you see me on video on YouTube, you see that my hair is in a trenza, or a, what are they called? Braid. And I got my cafecito earrings on. Yes. And you don't know what my background looks like, but I'm in bed.
But you see it, because I got the sneak peek. I was like, what's going on here? Okay. I love it though. But listen, first and foremost, I do think it's important to just say, to call it out that when you're not feeling well, like, I mean, so many people just be pushing through. I'd be like, let's start leading with, how are you doing? And then add in how you actually are feeling. And by the way, don't let people know that you can't come in if you have the access and availability of time off. Take your time off so you can heal and give your body the full rest. That's not something I've always practiced, but I will tell you that it's become more and more important. And maybe it's because we went through like maybe a life-changing, life-scaring 2 years or more now, of just really have to be conscious about how healthy you are and what you value and who and how you spend your time with your health and the relationship you have with your body, as well as how you decide to prioritize the things that are your responsibilities versus the things that are core and important to you. So yes, all of those things. And that's a long way to say, yes, take care of yourself. Like, what are we doing? Aren't we, like, aren't we, right? So if we not in and we not here, then who's here? Like, for real, we need you 100%. And Liz, yes, I told Liz we need to record this podcast. You see how she skipped over that so quickly. And she was coughing off the mic just because I said we don't need to be doing this, Liz, because you don't feel good.
No, but this is part of my self-care, right? So now it's like not things that I have to do, but things that I'm choosing to do, right? And it's not that I'm pushing through. It's that this conversation, and I will put a picture of my setup, because I do have I'm a ring light, and I have this like wooden thing on the bed.
Liz,
I got my cozy socks on. Like,
listen, y'all, she's describing the high level things. When you look at this picture, I'll be honest, I was going to the note to your husband. I was like, I'm not sure she'd be posting this. Its setup is really crazy.
Also, crazy. How much did you eye hustle?
I did everything.
What'd you see?
I hustled everything from the nightstand, the lighting placement. Then I was like, proximity to where I know, since I visited you, like all the other things that's in the room. I was like, oh yeah, so they moved that around there. Oh, that's cute. Yeah. And I was like, okay, she got her water there. I see that she got her cozy remotes and everything is there. The lighting is perfectly set up, giving. But I ain't gonna give too much because that's gonna give away the photo. But I will say, one, I am glad that we're connected. We've had a lot of guests, and shout out to all our guests. This is our catch up. Like, Liz and I haven't had a chance to really catch up. We do a lot of things behind the scenes all the time, but this is our time to catch up with you all. So I'm so happy to do that. Second of all, I just want to let y'all know, for who are not watching, that I'm going to be visually counting all the coughs that she has, and then we're going to close this thing down early if it's too many. For those on YouTube, you should be counting the coughs too. Go back.
Every time I cough, you like.
No. Every time you cough, that means we're getting closer to the end, okay? Because I gotta look out for you, okay? So wait, Liz, today you said you was choosing a topic. What are we gonna talk about today?
No, today we're doing the Gartner article from October 2022. That's I wasn't aware of Gartner and what they published, but since you've told me about them, I obviously had done all my research and Googling and whatnot, and there's some just incredible information out there, and had me thinking. I got a lot of questions, but before we get there, Shara, how are you doing?
Oh yeah, I was gonna let that slide right past real quick. Yeah, I know. Don't try to cough off mic and just have me talking. I see you. So second of all, yes, I'm doing great. Like, this is the season of all the things that you mentioned, but also this is the season where, like, starting to meet new people, build some new relationships professionally. Got us, I just opened up some slots for some new clients for coaching. I had to get my rest so I could know how much time bandwidth I had for my life, And so this is an exciting time right now. It's a very busy time, right? I feel like, there should be some required, 2-week, 3-week buffer before we start hitting it hard. But I recognize that, cyclical nature of corporate lives don't allow for that, because everything kind of happens in the Q1 of the year, right? Similarly, Q1 and Q4. So it's like, get your break and hurry up and get back to work. But you know what? I feel good. I feel healthy. I definitely feel filled up. So for those of you who haven't been following, Liz and I got a chance to be together and record and meet new people over in the UK early this year, like several weeks now. It doesn't feel long ago, but I mean, just having the holidays plus us getting together in the UK, and then having that cushion and beginning really filled my cup with the connections that I need, to be a person, right? But also just in general, it reminded me of my ecosystem of support and love that I have in all the places. Don't smile, Liz. This is just you. This Liz love when I get mushy. It's just ridiculous.
I do. I love it. I do. I love it because, can I call you out real quick?
Don't tell all my business.
We can edit this if you don't like it, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. So Shara, for those who know Shara, y'all know that she's an amazing connector. She connects people, and she does it because she's an incredible networker. I mean, I took a little bit of Shara's page out of it, but let me tell you, I started doing that here because I'm new here and I'm trying to, figure out things in the UK and all that. And it is hard work. Like, that takes a skill and talent, and you have to be on all the time. So I can definitely see how that can be very tiring, and I can see how it can be very overwhelming, even to someone who is an experienced networker like you are, So I'm glad that you kind of took time and you assessed who you are. But I do want to say, like, are you bringing things in your life that bring you joy? And because you're very quick to ask us if we brought joy in our lives,
But first of all, y'all, this is continuing the conversation we was having just in life, but not in front of y'all. Yes. So listen, there's some intention. She's horrible in a good way. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, and don't go mute and cough. Okay, I know you coughing. So
I'm laughing, but nobody wants to hear my chipmunk laugh. Nobody.
I want to hear it. I want them to hear it, because when you get going, and specifically when we record late, that laugh is like the funniest thing I've ever heard. And I mean, literally, it opened up a gateway into a new level of friendship. It's like the gateway.
I'm gonna start it right now. Oh my gosh,
Don't do it.
That was Angela's episode. It was like the pre-work of Angela's episode. And it was late here because it was like 8 a.m. her time. She's in Australia. And we had like all these different time zones. I have a app called Time Buddy. I mean, who does that? But that is amazing. Like, our guests are all over the world, and I cannot wait to go and visit. Like, for real, for real. We joke about it in the podcast, but they think I'm joking, but they don't know that I'm for real, for real.
No, you're serious.
Because I have our bracelet that we have here. Yes. And I gotta fill it up. See all this?
Yes.
So yes.
First of all, if y'all not watching, just FYI, she is showing a Pandora bracelet that we have. P.S. Pandora, you know, for these larger, thicker, grown-up, you know, wrists that I have, I just need y'all to go ahead and get a couple of inches on that thing. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm just tired of trying to be like, look, I'm gonna make mine a necklace and it look like I'm in like the 90s with this gold Cuban link chain. Like, for real, cut it out. Like, grown-ups are groaning. Okay.
I mean, I'd rock a chain. I rock a chain like Mr. T.
Listen, not a bracelet chain because your wrist is too big for these little bracelets. But anyway, I'm gonna digress. Listen, so one thing that we do, because we have this partnership, when we do things specifically, like big events that we do, or things that's milestones for us, or we're visiting or together doing something in a different country or location, we try to get a Pandora. Liz actually started this, so which is a really meaningful thing because I'm not a Pandora charm person. I'm the last person to be like, let's collect some stuff. But at the end of the day, I loved it. And I was the first one to be like, let's go to the Pandora store when we went to the UK. So I was like in there talking to everybody, looking at multiple things that I did not need. But
so when you travel, like, you don't collect things?
So listen,
not like seashells, but like,
no, yeah, I do collect things. I do wearable things. So like, if I go somewhere, I get a purse, I get a scarf, I get a thing that I can put on. So every time I'm here, I can wear it, and I got a story. I got something to, you know, just to give me joy, but also a little story. Like, I rock stuff when we were in Africa. Like, I still have like clothes and stuff, and when I rock it, people are like, oh, where you get that from? I'm like, wait, hell, let me tell you a little story there. That's how I do. So when I go places, like, for example, from the UK, we brought earrings and we got the Pandora bracelet, but I also rock my Dino.
You bring Diney.
Diney is my guy. He was given to me with love from one of Liz's boys, but also both of them gave me something cute. But Diney rolls with me to work when I go out and do things in the community, and I try to take pictures so that the boys will recognize that I actually have a job and I'm not at home all day, not, you know, looking at my computer, because I don't think the concept was they think one of your sons was like, so you work at your house? I was like, I really don't like the tone of how you talking about my house. But he was just like, he was like, yeah, my mom works at here. I was like, but your mom got a full office here in the house. What's the disconnect? But he was just kind of looking at me like, you might be unemployed. So I take Diney with me, and I'm going to be taking him to a couple of
so maybe you need to do a post on all the amazing things that you're doing with Diney.
I am. So Diney sometimes come with me, but I forgot to take a picture the last couple of times when I was doing things. But
we need to get it together with your taking of the pictures. But we also need to upgrade your phone. So we're not gonna. I know I'm calling you out on our podcast. I know.
Please stop.
But I'm giving you the pressure.
Listen, there's no pressure here because you and my cousin, whatever kind of text chain I might be having,
Shara's friends that listen to our podcast, and family members. Yes, can you please tell her? Yes. No. Can you tell her?
I love my mini. Stop playing. It's the most. Listen. I mini phone.
I gotta be careful with my phone. I gotta give it love because it might get mad at me a little bit.
See, I don't like. See, this is God's too personal. I thought we was talking about Gartner trends, and then now we talk about. I'm not. See, this is why I don't let you ask me how I'm doing, because it always becomes like all.
Yeah, I know you don't. But you know, we agreed to do this podcast together. We're a partnership. We're hermanas, and you want me to do serious things, and I want you to do non-serious things. It works out. We are a perfect balance of yin and yang. I think so.
Whatever makes you feel comfortable making me uncomfortable, it's fine. Whatever you gotta say that makes you
make me uncomfortable all the time.
Uncomfortable, it's fine. I'm not uncomfortable, but I just don't like it, and I don't know what the words to use, so forget about it. Let's go to Gartner, okay? Gartner, P.S. Y'all are not sponsoring this show, so whoever we're going to tag y'all. Come on, come sponsor this show because we definitely done said your name, And honestly, I know it's not your brand to be doing a drinking game, but if we were doing a non-alcoholic drinking game, you definitely got a lot of shine for free. So I feel like y'all should come and consider sponsoring and supporting us. But Liz, so I sent you this article. So for Liz, who's trying to be like, okay, sure, I need you to have more of a life than other networking and doing things professionally. This is one of those other things that she probably didn't allude to that I love to read. Research.
When I got it, and we're time difference is, we're 6-hour time difference. So by the time, which is odd because my 6 a.m. is your 11 a.m. I had to 12 a.m.
And we talk all the time. We talk all the time when you first get up in the morning because I'm still up. I'm a night owl.
I know. She's a night owl. So I get these very intriguing articles, right, in the morning when I'm trying to get the boys to school.
I'm so tired of you today. You not sick. You faking it so I can treat you differently. That's okay. I see what's happening. Okay. Okay.
But she sent me this article and I was like, well, this one's interesting. So this article is called The 5 Strategic Initiatives HR Leaders Are Prioritizing This Year. So it came out in October 2022. We'll post a link of that article on here. And I think it's not just impacting HR leaders, but I got a lot of questions. So do you want to go ahead and give them the synopsis of like how this data was put together? And then I can ask all my questions that I had.
Please and thank you. So listen, first of all, I look at a number of research avenues. So Gartner's not the only one. So shout out to other, individuals, big fours who put this stuff out. But I like to look at the work trends, and I'm specifically looking at what are the areas of resistance, right? Or the areas of focus for the environment that we're going into. So this particular one is like the future of work. So the future of work and trends for 2023 that Gartner put out. So if you're looking for that, note that it came out in 2022, but it's talking about 2023. So there's 9 future things that they focused on in this research. So they do this amongst their member companies. They get quite a bit of data. I'm not going to start reading off all these commas, but you can look at it yourself when you see the link. But ideally, there's a 9 future work trends for 2023. And I'm going to read them to you, but selfishly, the last one is the one that's really important to us. So, well, all of these are important, but just FYI. Oh, P.S. Listen for in the 9 trends of how many of these Liz and I have already talked about.
I'm just, look, you know what? What's funny is that in my notes, when I make my notes, I was like, we had an episode on this a while ago.
Excuse me.
Or you and I had a conversation about this, but still, I got a lot of, okay. We've been talking about all of this.
For real, because they might listen to the podcast. They might be taking
so maybe you should be sponsoring this Gartner.
Exactly. Okay.
Okay, but this research comes from like, what did they do? Like research like 800 HR leaders to kind of pull all their data. So this isn't just like people randomly bringing information together, right?
No.
And
these
I thought
people doing the work and running.
These are people
Fortune
doing the
500.
Work. It's data. It's like what is top of mind? And I thought the very first one that I thought was very interesting was on leadership, right? Making, and this is my favorite one. Let me just pause there for a second. But making leadership human. Making leadership human. So what does that mean, Shara?
So first of all, Liz, for me, making leadership human is really about understanding the needs of your employees, right? So this is one of those things that we always talk about. So first of all, I realized that we're not looking at the same article, but it's okay because I'm gonna flow with it. Second of all,
wait, what? How are we not looking at the same article?
Because the one
this article.
This is so many future. First of all, it says 9 future work trends in 2023, and then when you read number 1, that was not my number 1. So clearly we are not on the same one. But let me just tell you, I'm always ready. I stay ready.
We'll flow with both articles.
Listen, it's fine. It's fine because I'll tell you what the number 1 is on this one. But I will say, here we go. So what I would say for human is, listen, everybody has a purpose for the work that they're coming to do. Maybe it's for you to, you just need money for your family, for your livelihood, etc. But at the end of the day, nowadays, people who are not in a situation where it's a thing that needs to be done to just, live per se, and they want to lead with a purpose, thinking about what are the values the expectations, the motivations of your employees, so that you can have a purpose-driven organizational focus. And to do that, you have to actually listen and clearly engage with the people and understand what it is that they need. And it goes back to like Angela Chen's, who did our personhood and ethics of care, goes back to who are you serving, right? Like you can serve your shareholders and everybody else, but the people who are actually doing the work need to feel valued, appreciated, and seen, and be honored at least for the things that are important to them as much as you can in the workplace. So when I think about human, it's the personhood that we talked about in our previous episode. But on our side, Liz, my number one for the future of work trends on this Gartner one is quiet hiring to snag new talent, which I think is perfect because it goes from like, if you're not honoring your people for the human, then let's just
you know what? I think these two articles, like now I'm on the article, okay? Like we're going through this article together. We're going to go through this journey together with the listeners, right? So, yes. So I think that's interesting. Yeah. I think, I mean, what happens when a leader when you don't have a leader who's empathetic or authentic or a listener, right? Mm-hmm. And they're pushing, they're disregarding people in general, right? Okay. And your main asset is our people, period. Mm-hmm. So, what are you doing to prevent this from happening? So yeah, we had a whole conversation about quiet quitting. So let's do quiet hiring.
Yeah, quiet hiring is one of those things where, they're saying that basically people are poaching your talent, and the employees in your organization is letting it happen. Like they're like, look, come get me, okay? I want to be courted, okay? So come court me, okay? And so quiet hiring is really the shout out to the HR people who do sourcing. If you don't know that word, it's fine. But let me tell you, for my HR peeps, sourcing is when you already done mapped out the people you want to bring into your organization well before the position comes. It's not easy. It takes a skill set to do that, and a lot of networking. I know one amazing person who I met. I mean, it's several amazing people I met, at least two who really do it so well. But those are when you basically have already planted the seed in somebody else's top talent in their organization, and you're just waiting them to come on in, reel them in, because you know that you need them in their organization, and that, quite frankly, potentially they're not being valued as they could be in their current organization. So it is the HR person's dream.
And why not? I mean, in my whole career, I never wanted to do one thing. I mean, Shara, you and I worked together for a very, very long time in corporate, and I never wanted to stick to my lane.
You don't got no lane, Liz. I think you're the only one who thought that you had a lane. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, as a person who knew you in the workplace, all I know you was doing 100 things. It's always like, yeah, that's Liz. There go Liz. There go Liz. Oh, Liz doing that too. Liz doing this 10%. Liz doing this. Liz go.
Okay. And I think on a personal level, this number one, I think even on a personal level, with like now looking back at it, I'm really glad I never stuck to a single lane. That I acquired all these different skills, because now, like, that we running our own businesses, we are running our podcast, all these different hats that you wear, that whole process or that experience really put me in a position to where I could handle so many different hats, right? Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't scare me because I've done so much. And I feel for people who, don't upskill themselves, or who, are like, well, I am this is my identity, and this is who I am, and this is where I'm going to stick to, as opposed to like venturing out and seeking. And I know it requires a lot of work, right? Especially, someone who is an introvert, for example, like how would they go about doing this?
Yeah. So this is the thing, right? This goes back to some other, like in general, the work, you have to understand what your employee needs. period. It goes back to the human parts of if you're working on that as a supervisor or organization, you need to really make sure you put that accountability on your manager and leaders to be in connection with their employees to understand what their needs are and what like serves them, what powers them up, what's their strengths and where kind of they fall short. But as an employee, right, as a person who's having those conversations, you have to be authentic and like what it is that you need. Like, look, thank you so much for putting me on this project, but this really is not my spirit. Like, this is a stretch for me, right? And if I'm an introvert, which is not my true identity, then I need time. What I need to ask for is, hey, I need time to read what the agenda is before the meeting, so I can digest and send me the information in which you want me to be prepared for to talk in the room. And then also, hey, give me time, because I know we all love to chat in the meeting and do idea generation. But for a person who is introverted, that is not the ideal space that they show up and thrive. So they need to be able to have a balance of give me something before if you want me to be idea generating so that I could be prepared and show up, or give me the chance that I can digest everything and then come to you in a format after the meeting so that I can come and bring my best pieces. Second of all, breaks. Stop having these 90-minute meetings. And no offense, I know, don't be shady, y'all, because I know we have long podcasts, but you got
that's different though. This is entertainment. Okay. A 90-minute meeting, nobody needs that.
Listen, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yes.
You know what's interesting is like
introverts need pauses. And they need pauses and talk and chat about your weekend. Like, pauses, leave me alone. I gotta walk away from y'all, and we're not dialoguing about something random you have as our break. But that is something that they need to have. Liz, you say something. Go ahead, girl.
Yeah, no, what's interesting is like I'm going back and forth from the two articles, and in the article that I was reading, they were talking about we all make mistakes, okay? All right.
No, there's no mistake.
No, but this is like this is interesting because we talk about a lot about the employee experience as well as organizational design. Like, what is the organization doing to create these experiences for employees? You know, upskilling is one of them, right? The next one on the article here is talking about hybrid flexibility in the workplace, right? And what does that do? You know, most of us are either remote or hybrid or in the office or a combination of all three. There's definitely a lot more flexibility. You know, how do we now control or guide our careers? And is that the responsibility of the employee, or is that the responsibility of the organization to do? And I feel like there's a little bit of a two-way street there, because I've always been very responsible and very in the mind of it is my career, and so I need to be responsible for it. But at the same time, the organization needs to create these opportunities and have these, succession planning essentially. And like, how are you going to develop me?
Agreed. Yeah, I think the mindset of, to me, it's about empowerment and disempowerment. And you could agree with me on this word, but disagree with me, listeners and Liz, on the word. But empowerment, I think we've moved from a disempowerment piece, which is like this place in which someone's telling you what path in which you have to take, given your skill set that's going to get you to X. And that's usually a very traditional pathway. Like, you got to do level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. But that is, really those days of that type of development is long gone, because in my opinion, and it's maybe more fleeting. Now, I'm not saying you ain't got to get an advanced skill set. I'm just saying that your career is not going to be as linear as you would be hoping that in the past. But I agree with you, Liz. I think it's more from an empowerment mindset where people are coming with what it is that they have as their skills, their aspirations, motivations, and interests. And then they're going to then share that information with a company who clearly has brought them in to do something and has something for them, and have some shared accountability around what that could look like, which the empowerment also requires both parties to do their, empowerment is really for the employee to feel empowered to do it, but also the empowerment is for the organization to stretch their employees. Like, hey, look, let's stop asking you just to do this one thing. we can offer you multiple things that may make you feel more engaged in the workplace. And I think that goes to number 3 on mine, which is elevating the pressure on managers. Now, listen, I've been a manager and a leader of small and large groups. And let me just be honest with you. There is already a piece of pressure that goes along with, leading and staying connected and finding ways to stay connected with your team and getting information and getting buy-in from the organization, making sure your employees know what's happening, staying abreast of their personal and professional needs and goals. But at the end of the day, the accountability to know the pressure to know what my employees need to feel invested in what they do and to be an advocate for them in the organization, and also being mindful of what all of those things and being able to maneuver and support and champion them is really important. Also, as an organization, give me the flexibility as a manager to do those things and not just like always fit in a box and not be open to non-traditional ways of supporting and develop employees to get to the ultimate goal.
And that's really hard, Shara. I mean, as someone who is at a manager level in an accounting department, it's really, really difficult to ask that of your managers, especially if the organization isn't supporting your managers and providing the skills for your managers to be able to do this. So it sounds like to me, a lot of organizations need some coaching from their managers. I'm just plugging that in there. I'm just saying, come get us. We got an amazing coaching program, but okay, y'all.
But also, let's throw it out there. I also want the organization to hold accountable to managers who are not doing their part, because nothing's worse than me sitting here having check-ins every week with folks, filling up all of my calendar, making sure I'm doing those connections in my organization, outside my organization, champion my folks, and then I see somebody who's not doing that.
No,
and they have more time to focus on themselves and their own career and not the collective. So I want them to hold them accountable, get them out of here. Like if you want people who just control command and not doing no work, and that's the organization you want, make sure everybody like that. Don't have people overachieving over here to make sure that you have a culture that feels like it's valuing the humans in front of them.
It has to be consistent messaging. It has to come from the top bottom. I've always said this. We've always seen that a lot in the programs that we've put in place for D&I. It's like it has to be consistent, and everybody has to buy in. The next one is one of my favorite ones.
Go get it.
Why? You know why it's my favorite? Because I am such an advocate. Is advocate the right word? Yeah, I think so. I feel very strongly about diversifying your employee capacity, I guess you would say, and getting out from the traditional of requiring college degrees.
Come on.
Because I have seen it time and time again, and my own 2 brothers run very successful businesses. They don't have college degrees because they couldn't do that. It just wasn't in the cards for them. And but they run very successful companies. I would even go as far as to say they're probably more successful than I have been in my lifetime. And I'm very proud of them, right? And they see themselves as less than, right? A lot of the comments are, well, you got a college degree, like you went to college, like what am I going to talk to you about? What do we have in common per se? But it's like, actually, like, okay, yes, I did go to college, and yes, I did put myself through it, and yes, that was very difficult, but you also built a business without having someone mentor you on how to run a business and how to navigate creating a business and doing all that, right? Yeah. And I just want to say that I think a while ago we talked about, if you want to diversify your talent pool, you got to tap into these people who don't have degrees or have trades or have different degrees, non-traditional degrees, and tap into that talent, because you never know what you might get out from that.
I'm with you 100%. Listen, it's not, let's put the caveat on it, which is, it's not for all roles. Like every single role that can't be such that you don't get a college degree, right? Like I want my doctor to have a college degree. I want my engineers to have a college degree. Like, come on.
Yes.
Like,
yes, this is true.
Let's be 100.
But even, I'm sorry, go ahead, Shara.
Go ahead, Liz. No.
Sure.
No,
I mean, but even in like D&I positions, right? Even in culture positions, if you look a lot of the LinkedIn jobs out there, they're very inequitable, right?
Yes, for sure.
They want you to have multiple degrees, multiple qualifications, 10 years plus of X, Y,
20, 10, 20, 15, 10, 12. It's never like three in the training. No. Listen, I'm with you, Liz. The college degrees have their place. Like, listen, I understand that, college served me in a lot of different ways, quite frankly. But when I walked out with my degree, the organizations I went to trained a lot of those things out of me, right? Like their job was to acclimate me to their organization, how they go about doing it, and the laws and requirements of wherever the locations I was. So they really did all the work that really has me up until now. So the question really is it required for the execution and completion and the responsibility and safety of that role for you to have a college degree? And if the answer is absolutely yes, okay, then do it. But if it is, meh, then you may not need it. And listen, tech companies are doing it. So if I'm just challenging, I'm with you. Listen, sure, you don't need a college degree. First of all, a college degree is just at the end of the day, a sheet of paper that you got and experiences you got over 4 years and some knowledge that you gained. But at the end of the day, there was a lot, people were living, working, having more experiences while I was in college, who are now able to maneuver through life different than me because of the investment that I had that was very much so tailored to the education system. So shout out to anybody who did not go to college, who is doing their thing. Shout out to the people who went to college, who decided that, hey, maybe that was useful, or maybe it wasn't. But at the end of the day, if somebody can tell you that they can do the job, one, trust them and look at your system and whether or not you can train them, support them with whatever they do have at the door. Because what's the point of asking somebody to have all of this if you're going to train it out of them? Because that's what we call like acclimation. And all those other things is the code word of, I'm going to train you the way we want you to do it. Listen, number 5, though, one of yours. Okay.
This is me. This is 100% me.
Addressing employee mental well-being. Girl, you modeled that at the beginning of this call, though. You did that.
And I didn't even know what article we were talking about. So there's that.
Well, listen.
But I love the fact that they bring out the pandemic, because we are still seeing, yes. I know y'all, you think the pandemic's over, but we're still seeing repercussions of it. And this is going to be years down the line of repercussions. I mean, here in the UK, they had multiple lockdowns, right? And so at the moment, we are in the midst of many unions protesting. So we have the post office, we have nurses in the NHS, we have teachers, we have train workers as well too, protesting because they want fair, equitable treatment. They want and they want salaries that are equitable as well too. So
yes,
and all these people kept everything running throughout this pandemic. Okay. Yes. They kept the transportation going. They kept our hospitals open. They were teaching our kids remotely, and we are asking them to do things beyond it. I was very blessed and privileged that all I had to do was some crunch numbers on my, at home. Yes, I had my kids here, but in no way, shape, or form did I have it as bad as, our teachers and our nurses and everything. Yeah. And people are still, they're struggling with it. Our kids are struggling with it. I mean, Shara, you mentor a lot of young people. I've just gotten into an organization here in the UK as well that mentors young girls. And there's just so much pressure in our young people, right? And these are the people that are going to go into the workforce, right? And going back to number 4 a little bit is kind of number 4 and number 5 together, right? Like, how are you making your organization fit for a new generation?
Okay.
A generation that has gone through so much, right? Has gone through multiple economic downfalls, has gone through this huge pandemic. Their society has told them they have to have these degrees, they have to have this piece of paper. And college expenses are a huge expense, right? Especially in the US, it's huge expense. And then of course medical bills and all this stuff. A lot of younger generations, they're not able to afford homes, right? You have inflation, you have high interest rates, you have the cost of living, and the cost of housing is so high. So as an organization, when we talk about, to Shara's point, your ecosystem, right? And your employees are part of that community that you reside in, that you're using the resources around. So, because I often get a lot of times, and I'll ask you this. This is one of my questions, Shara. This is one of my questions.
Go ahead.
I get a lot when I'm talking to people who I've worked with, or friends or family members. I get a lot of questions like, why is it the organization's responsibility to take care of you? Please, can you put your HR hat and please tell me? Okay.
First of all, let me HR you. So no, I'm not giving you the tea. Listen, we got talking points for that. Listen, the HR team. Don't tell nobody else. So listen, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm with you. Prepare your organization for the generation that's coming. They have had a lot of loss and a lot of lack of trust. They have seen us at some of the most extreme parts of who we are, of highest pride and some of the lowest of lows, right? Like there is no reason for them to trust any system per se, and think that they won't lose something, right? Whether it's a job or their financial stability or access to home, like pick something, right? Like there's so many risks. We have taught them they're experiencing some of the highest level of risk and uncertainty. And when you think about mental well-being, right? In this way, the biggest piece I would say, that's not my HR answer, but the biggest piece I would say is really around the fact that think about Maslow's hierarchy, right? Yep. Like if someone feels like they cannot eat, be safe, then you cannot get anything else like self-actualization and these highest forms of trust and confidence from people. You have to make sure, one, you're providing that environment that lets people know what is transparently happening, even if it's not all good news, so people can decide how they want to govern themselves and make those decisions for them to create the safety that they need to make sure that their hierarchy is done. And when it comes to the HR answer around mental well-being, we will tell you that the EAP services is available, right? So that is the counseling.
Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that.
I mean, to real, we're going to say your EAP is available, right? That's the Employee Assistance Program, which has a lot of counseling and guidance for employees to do self-service and keep it confidential.
But there's a lot of employees that don't have trust over that, right? They don't have trust over, yeah.
The trust in general. That's because our organizations have to be better at trust and transparency and keeping their word. But I will say EAP because I'm a user of it, and also, I'm a user. I feel like I was about to say a commercial tagline for that, but I can't remember it. Need to go get that. Go get my vitamins. But what I will say is, yes, EAP is confidential. So at the end of the day, I've been on the behind the scenes of that. It is confidential. It's like, no, you don't see names, right? It's just basically a cost, right? You pay it, it's done. But at the end of the day, the importance of using EAP, of course, is to get the services, but it's also to let people, what we do get behind the scenes is a trend to say, what are the key things people are calling for, not the actual people, but what are the things that we as an organization need to be thinking about? It's the human part of another data point for the human part of the experience of our employees. So when people go and be like, okay, I just want to get some individual counseling or some family counseling or some financial counseling, whatever the case may be, that data point allows us to say, well, this is what's happening in our organization, this is what's happening outside of organization, and this is what's happening to our employees if we in between like an employee survey or something like that. But let me not give y'all too much tea because my HR people want to start texting me. I had somebody text me about something I said on the podcast before, and I was like, listen, I'm telling all the secrets, okay?
What? They text you. Oh, so my God.
Don't listen. Don't listen if you don't want to know.
You can turn us off. This is a choice. You have a choice to, but also go like us and share us to your friends. Okay. So the sixth one is exactly kind of like, it's our bread and butter, right? It is talking about D&I. And I do feel like, I think we talked about this a few months ago on what is the future of D&I in organizations, because it does seem that there's so much. We are in a time in history where everything is polarized. Even our groups of friends. If you look at your groups of friends now, right there, there's different views of different ways, and so I know there's a lot of sentiment of feeling that that D&I is devising the organization. So how are organizations going to continue trying to push equity and inclusion and diversity forward, considering this?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, if people are feeling resistance, it's because you are probably feeling some type of pressure, right? So if you're feeling resistance, I mean, it could be someone said, hey, it's a cost matter. And usually when we think about cost, we think about things that are not as easily quantifiable or doesn't have the biggest impact either on a shareholder or etc. So anything that doesn't, like the soft skills, I hate calling it soft skills because it's usually the things that kind of go away.
That's
right?
The most important skills.
The behaviors that make actually the results happen. Okay, whatever. Anyhow,
okay,
I digress. So really, cost constraints really is usually one of those things. Also, what happens is when there's no pressure, like, how we experience around racial, gender matters or LGBTQ plus conversations, or just in general, something in front that is glaring where you have to decide and make a choice and people are watching you more intensely. People don't have that pressure in front of them, so they get to now scale back and get to a place, maybe a more comfortable place in which they want to do D&I initiatives. And typically for those of you who get that resistance, people start asking for more data. More data is a trigger to be like, I need more data. Maybe we have some data on that.
But you know what though? Their data is there.
Yeah,
you just don't want to look.
It's also a deterrent, right? To say, I need more of, because I just not ready. Sure, we need to do more of this.
But you know what though? I can get you more. I'm a data person. My background is in data. Okay, don't play with me, because I'll get you. I'll go get you data. The question is, do you want to see what the data is going to show you?
Right. Because they're going to be like, well, that's not for our market. And maybe, but like our specific industry, like I know this is industry, but like our specific, like, listen, when you start hearing that, just say, okay, well, if this is not a priority to you, what is the priority that you want to have? Because what I always go back to is like, what is the commitments we made to our employees and our leaders? Because they are the ones who are still, you have set an expectation. What are you fulfilling? And if you were just being performative, fine, just be prepared to be told, hey, you was doing all this D&I work, now let this happen. And so y'all haven't been working on y'all behaviors and things are still kind of feeling the same. And y'all cutting the budget around D&I, so do you really mean it? If that was what it is, be answering it honestly. Like, it was a time and now is not the time, right? Or you could be a transformational progressive company who understands that D&I is a strategic imperative for how business need to operate if you want to attract talent into your organization, because the world is diverse. I'm sorry.
Amen.
Go look at the census data. Anyhow, all right. The number 7, tackling employee data privacy. So tackling employee data privacy. I'm not gonna lie, Liz, y'all over in the UK, man, when we were doing this with our website, us trying to make sure we had the actual privacy standards for like Europe was pretty intense. I actually have a greater appreciation. I've actually started to see more of those pieces pop up on more sites here in the US, where they're talking about how the cookies are being used and privacy and opting out of information. So to me, I really am happy to see that employee data privacy is really important. And I think it goes back to even building that trust around well-being, right? Like, there's a level of expectation, and it's been there for a long time, but I think people are starting to see more of it, like, because on the HR side, there is standards of privacy that we have to keep from employees. That for employees to support our employees and leaders in organizations. But I'm glad that people are starting to have some control over how they want their information to be used, and being able to opt in for that.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think that's a big thing. I mean, but one of the things that I struggle with on, the data that is available out there to people. And again, I am a data person. And so I always look at data and assess a company or a situation or whatever it may be. I always go to data. I always look at facts. If that data isn't readily available, how are we going to progress in a lot of these issues that we're dealing with? If people are very concerned about their privacy, and I'm not saying that it shouldn't be private, because it should be private, but also, like, how are we going to do both? And that's going to be a very interesting approach that companies are going to have to really work around, is like, how are you going to do both?
Yeah, self-disclosure is a big deal. I mean, once again, we talk about data points. I mean, when people ask you to self-disclose and identify what identities that you show up as, specifically in your organization, right? Like in a trusted place, it's really important, because they're asking that question for a reason, right? Oftentimes when people don't answer those questions for whatever, because they don't feel that sense of safety, it really hinders like your organization who wants to do the work around D&I or people processes, because we don't have the live data to say, look, this is the population and they care, right? Like, stop overlooking them.
So I guess at the end of the day, again, bringing the human-centered approach, again, bringing trust, bringing safety in organizations is going to be super, super key. And also being able to have these difficult, hard conversations with people, right? So let's talk about number 8. So that one is talking about the AI bias, which is something that we talked about on our previous episode. Go back to Rich, okay? So how are we mitigating the bias in artificial intelligence?
Yeah, so this is an ongoing issue, right? So, we're all excited about, hey, AI and some of the, I'm not saying we all excited, but there are some advantages to having some things automated that allows individually and collectively for us to do things differently, or have more time to do other things, right? Or strategic things, or more things that doesn't seem as tactical, depending on how you use your AI. But what I will say is it's all about the program. So who's programming it? What inherent biases are they adding in there? Or who is, and who's not in the room in the development, right? Like, how many times, I mean, if you think about not even technology, but just in general, how many times, especially this is Black History Month, and so, or Women's History Month, you hear these faux pas that people do. They be like, oh yeah, we serve this type of food at this school to honor Black history. Like, why are y'all doing that? Believe somebody made that decision, okay? And it went through several people, mouths, hands, emails to get to that answer, and you still had the faux pas, right? And that inherent bias just goes into the zeros and the ones, okay, in the program, right? When you be like, oh yeah,
the zeros and the ones.
I mean, I think that this shade is I think these are enough shades for people to put a filter on, and then you got me looking like a ghost. Like, listen, I'm just telling you that at the end of the day, this is a really important moment. And if we're recruiting algorithms specifically, it's important for you to have something if you are doing a lot of change in your organization and the competency that you have around particularly D&I, around your HR professionals, others may be growing or lacking or whatever that is. Or in particular, you want to allow your people and your leaders to focus on what it is their skill sets are and not this per se, then you want to get you want to make sure you're choosing technology that are helping to mitigate.
That's equitable.
Bias. That's mitigating bias and is equitable. And also you're training the people to say,
absolutely.
This AI is only doing part of it for you. Here are the other things that you need to be thinking about when you're thinking about our talent that's coming into our organization and training them properly.
And I would say start with your job posts. How equitable and inclusive are your job posts? Remove that requirement, or just really consider removing that requirement of all these like letters at the end of your name.
Yes.
More power to you if you do have them. I'm very proud of you. There's someone that has to do it.
Correct.
But I would offer that. And I would also offer too, like, as you start using AI to do a lot of your recruiting and bringing data into HR, what do they call it? Like people analytics is, I would offer, to Shara's point, right? Making sure that you remove those biases in there, because as people start applying for different jobs or moving around the country or moving around organizations, because that's not going to stop, is how are you diversifying your talent pool and ensuring that these AI tools are not removing talent that could be incredible for your organization.
Correct.
Because either the person's name isn't, a name that's from the dominant culture or whatever it may be. I mean, those kind of things are real, right?
Yeah. And I'll give you a analogy if it's helpful. It's like before you had the automated smart cars now, and you had to put your blinker on, like, you had to hit the blinker and the camera didn't pop up and you had to actually go look and make sure a car not over there before you moved into the lane. It's the same thing, right? It's the manual version of that. You hit the blinker, right? You hit the AI. Thank you. Do your part. It's coming. Okay. Thank you for the check. But I still have to make sure I am looking and observing and making sure that what it is that I'm trying to do is still supportive and in line of the talent that I want to bring in an organization, and also the capability of those people who are part of that process is able to determine and serve the right behaviors for people to come in. So just think of it. It's just the little flip of the switch, right? To let you do a little, to help you and aid you versus doing the work for you. Right. So yes, it's a plus.
So Shara, what's the last one? Actually, I really like the last one. And I'm so glad that we got into the right article. Yes, because I also want to associate this down to our younger people, because I am all about younger people, right now, because, vibrancy is one of my values that I uphold. Go get them. But the number 9 is talking about, how are organizations addressing this gap in skills, especially like social skills, because, we are working from home. I'm sitting on my bed right now working from home, right? And it's easier for me to stay in my own area and not network and not go out and not develop these skills. And I think our kids are in the same boat as well too, right? Mm-hmm. The use of social media, the use of smartphones, et cetera, et cetera. I do think that as great as technology is, because I'm a very pro technology person, I also think for our younger generation, it's holding them back in a lot of ways, and also bringing in some new challenges that I feel like organizations are going to have to address eventually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So first of all, the what we're talking about is confront Gen Z soft skills gap. And you have to read the article to get the full grasp of this. But what it is basically saying, listen, we have set up organizations where your performance, your image, and your exposure is really important to how people work in the workplace, right? And without those things, right, the exposure being such that you are given that FaceTime, you're showing up at different things, you're saying yes and volunteering your time, you're a visible piece of the organization, you're saying yes to opportunities, you're doing the things, right? And a lot of that has to do with FaceTime visibility and those types of things, and being mentors, advocates. It's the active part of letting people know that you're in it, right? And then that's outside of per se just your immediate job and task. But then you got an image, right? People want to know who you are, what's your brand. When they say your name, what are the descriptors behind it, those types of stuff. I think in this instance, we have been trained our organizations to be so FaceTime, not FaceTime as in the app, but like seeing people in person, that the complexity and the opportunity we have of this generation who is comfortable being just a bubble with a picture on it and contributing in the workplace. And what I'll say is the gap is, I don't think it's unique to Gen Z, right? this similar conversation, minus the piece of the technological savviness, it's a trend in general amongst generations who had to be trained and get a depth and knowledge. I mean, intentional training programs where you had to be like, okay, there's a gap here where we need to give people some depth in skills that are clearly missing, that we need to focus on. It happens every generation, right?
Yeah, and that is true. But I do think that this generation has very unique things where they have so much social media pressure, you know, to be always on. And I think that is very unique side of it. Well, Shara, I think we kind of went over our time, and I'm glad that we got on the right article and everything. And
yes. Well, I do want to say one thing. So shout out to Gen Z, right? Gen Z, listen, you are changing the workplace, the workforce. And I'll be honest with you, people have put a lot of pressure on millennials to say, y'all have been a part of like the reason things are different. But let me just say, the differences are aiding in our ability to be more human, not just at work, but just in general. So make sure your needs are known, and to also be open and flexible to some of the things that may be opportunities for you to be able to engage in the workplace so that you could be successful. So that's my only piece. And show up as authentically you are, but make sure you ask for the tools and go deep sometimes, and not necessarily have to go all broad, I know TikTok and others let you get a lot of skills at one time, but sometimes you just need to work at being great and going deep in one thing. And I'm gonna tell you, that's not a generational thing. That's a skill set development thing. So Liz, I know you wanted to wrap up. And I first of all, I appreciate you, Liz. I want to shout you out. I know we normally do affection. Thank you for letting me be vulnerable and asking me about how I am and making me share with all these people who really
even though you got mad at me. It's all right.
I never get mad at you. I appreciate the pressure. And I also appreciate the fact that you keep pushing me in that area, because that's a place I want to develop. So I appreciate you.
Well, hey, you push me in other areas too, right? You push me in really being vocal about issues and having an opinion of things, and the way you're going to, that is a great skill to have, right? To really understand where you're coming from when you do vocalize certain things, and how you do that is by educating yourself, right? If you don't have ideas at the moment, you go read. If you want to practice your public speaking, you go write and you go out there and you public speak, which is one of the reasons why we created this podcast. Right now is the time to have your voices heard at this moment. So if you're thinking of putting a podcast together, or a blog or a video blog or whatever it may be, put it out there. Don't be perfect. We're not perfect, but we cute, but we're not perfect.
That's true, because we did show up for the cuteness today. And so listen, Liz, where can everybody find us if they just joining us?
So please go out. So go to our website at morethanwordspodcast.com. Follow us on Instagram at More Than Words Podcast. Follow us on LinkedIn as the Aunties of Inclusion, because that's the brand that we're going for, y'all. Okay. Because ultimately we are the Aunties of Inclusion. Yeah. And please send us an email. Like, we love to hear from our listeners. Yes. We want to know what's top of mind for you. Ask us those difficult questions. So send us an email at Liz and Shara at More Than Words Podcast. We'll see y'all later, y'all. Bye.